for a while, and has it been hard to get that message to a jury? Because absent this report, saying that this scientific forensic evidence should not be conclusive was hard to get a jury to believe it.
Kerry, this has been going on for years. If you recall back in the late 90s, the FBI labs were sued. They fell under heavy criticism for sloppy work as far as, and also false reports. And then you have this situation what happened in 2004 with Brandon Mayfield and matching of fingerprints. I think that all prompted Congress to finally say, look, enough is enough. We need an unbiased study to look into the situation and see exactly what's going on in our court systems and how can we prevent injustices. And that's what this report is simply all about.
Jose, do you think prosecutors will embrace this with the same zeal as defense attorneys, and why should they?
I think they should, because their goal...
You got to include prosecutors because we don't know who today is.
I think, well, first of all, I think they should, I think prosecutors should embrace it because their job is to seek justice, not to gain a conviction. And if they're true to heart prosecutors, where they carry themselves out as ministers of justice, then they should embrace this report, and they should look at the guidelines and basically gear their cases considering this report and knowing exactly what it entails and basically moving forward from this point on.
Now, Marty released a statement today about the huge documents that you've had a chance to look at, but the huge document dump today. Can you sort of verbalize on camera what she was saying about junk science and what actually happened with this huge dump?
Well, you know, I think this report lays out two important questions. One, you have an issue where, A, is it actual science? Is it based, is what tests are being conducted, is the evidence presented in court based on actual science that's being able to be calculated? And B, how much of this science relies on a person's interpretation, on an expert's interpretation? The more it relies on an expert's interpretation, the less it actually is on scientific calculations. And therefore, you also have increase the chances and the likelihood of wrongful convictions as well as false reports, and that's the crux of the entire report.
Yeah, I mean, is it fair to say, I mean, things like the smell of death and a hair sample that falls into what this report is suggesting is sort of junk science, or is it actual science but open for different types of interpretation?
Well, I think something like that would go to the heart of this. Rather than comment directly on it, you can pretty much look at that for yourself, especially since that type of science has never been admitted in a court of law.
Is there any way that you can say that, Jose, by saying the smell of death is the type of science that has never been admitted in the court of law? What if I ask
What do you think?
What is it in this case that you're finding with this report just sort of suggests that this falls into the category of junk science?
I think it's not limited to that. I think this report clearly lays out that the only thing presently that you can say for certain is nuclear DNA at this point. Everything else they're calling for across the board changes on all different types of science, and this report will affect all different types of science. So other than nuclear DNA, which really isn't an issue in this case, and all of the other forensic issues are at issue, I think it affects every single piece of forensic evidence other than that of nuclear DNA.
Jose, I know that you're, holding back on dealing with, piece-by-piece response to everything that the state releases, but if you could indulge me, if I ask you, the release of documents today included a passage from a diary that on first blush would appear to be very damning, but if you go and look at it closely, it has on the first page a date that is 2003, not 2008. Is the release of this and the interpretation, which I can tell you while not on camera, is certainly being suggested, is this is a very damaging piece of verbiage from Casey's own hand. Is this really being taken out of context, or how would you describe that comment or that diary entry?
Kerry, I would ask you, is this justice, where you have media sending out report after report on a diary that was written 5 years ago, which apparently seems to be a very positive passion, saying I'm looking forward, I've made good decisions, and I'm moving forward. This is before Kaylee was even born. So to lay that out there as a statement that could possibly incriminate her, I think is nothing but irresponsible and unethical media reporting. But that's been going on since day one. And to sit here and whine about it, that's not something we want to do, which is why we really haven't addressed it at all.